Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Humza Yousaf announced a council tax freeze in his speech to Congress. It was a panicked measure. He hadn't realised he was going to say it until the words fell out of his mouth at peak stupid times. But of course, after the initial shock, everyone so went, OK, that's fine. How are you going to fund it? And therein lay the problem. He couldn't. He had no idea how much it was going to cost. But he wants councils to freeze that tax regardless. And instead of the £1 billion or so that they were going to be needing, Shona Robinson announced a package of about 135 to 140 million. Nowhere near enough. And I have said on many other videos that there's no obligation of councils to freeze council tax. And there isn't. And there's nothing he can do about it, should they decide that they're going to go ahead and raise them anyway. Well, it looks like the Orkneys are going to do just that. Orkney council leader has said that the chances are that they are going to raise the council tax because they quite simply cannot get by on the pittance being given to them from central government. If they do it, others are bound to follow suit. Certainly the councils run by non-SNP parties, but even then there may be a few SNP councils that do it as well, and that of course will be the final slap in the face for Ali Baba. Let's take a look. So Orkney has a very good chance of hiking council tax unless more funding arrives. And it's exactly what I said. They are under no legal obligation to freeze tax regardless of what Humza Yousaf says in his panic-driven speech. And it was a stupid idea. You could see them all going, what? When he mentioned it. They had no idea how much it was going to cost or where the money was coming from. But the money has to be found. These services must be maintained. And if it means putting the council tax up, so be it. Outgoing Orkney council leader James Stocken also accused the SNP-led government of focusing too much on quangos instead of councils. It's trying to get these non-government organisations to take over a lot of the power, to remove that power from councils, because councils have this unfortunate side effect that the people have to be voted in, which means, of course, they can be voted out. And sometimes decisions are made by local councils who are not of the same persuasion as the SNP government and therefore do things that they don't like. If you have quangos controlled by men put in place by the government, that removes a lot of that awkwardness of people, doing what they want and instead of doing what Humza Yousaf wants. A senior councillor has said there's a very good chance A senior councillor has said there's a very good chance his colleagues will snub the Scottish Government on freezing the council tax, and I don't blame them. James Stocken, who's standing down as leader of Orkney Council, said the intention was to put up bills unless extra cash is found by ministers. In other words, if you want to announce a council tax freeze, that's absolutely fine. You fund it. You have to fund it. And of course, going forward, you have to fund it every year going forward. Because if you don't put them up this year and it's paid for by central funds, and that's how much stuff cost this year and it's gone up, then next year it goes up again. But if you've had a council tax freeze, that means next time they go to the council tax, it's a double increment. People find that very hard to find all of a sudden. He also accused civil servants of a lack of understanding of what councils could achieve if they were allowed to get on with improving lives. Stocken has led Scotland's smallest council for 6 years and has been an influential independent on the council umbrella group COSLA. He announced his retirement this week and will stand down from the council next month. And in an interview with The Record, he addressed Humza Yousaf's controversial decision to announce a national council tax freeze at the SNP conference. Not so much a controversial decision as a moronic one, an absolute foolish one that he does not understand. He just needed the round of applause. He just needed the adoration of the several people in that room. And yet he basically didn't get it. Half his own colleagues were sitting there stunned. The other half were angry. They knew it would cause problems. You had half the room thinking that is an unfunded expense that they just don't know how they're going to find the money. There was a few of the inveterate slappers going because they're too stupid to understand the implications. Said, oh, that sounds good, not realising how awful an idea it truly is. And that's the problem with the SNP. The voters are stupid, the politicians are stupid, everything connected with them is stupid, and nobody dare call them out. Anyway, council chiefs believe the move, if backed, deprives local authorities of flexibility and will lead to cuts. He said Orkney was planning a 10% rise before the First Minister's intervention, and an increase is still on the table. He said, we intend to put the council tax up if there's no extra money, but I'm in negotiation with the government. In other words, if they don't cop up the extra 10%, it's going up. That's it. Stockton said a freeze depended on funding for specific allowances. He says if there's no resolution in the Scottish Island needs allowance, then there's a very good chance. He said if Orkney want their own way, it will be a blow for the government, as they want all councils to freeze the tax. But of course, as I say, they're not obliged to. They don't have to do it. They can do what they want. And why shouldn't they? Why should they not put the tax up if it's needed? Because otherwise, a lot of services will cut. A lot of services that people need. And of course, it's therefore the people who are ultimately harmed by this policy are the most vulnerable. But of course, Humza Yousaf doesn't see that because he doesn't understand the consequences of his stupid ideas. He just thinks they sound good. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. And for me, I get a round of applause and therefore it must be a brilliant thing. And then you have to look at the people who suffer. But of course, he doesn't look at them. He's so far removed from normal people, he doesn't understand. Anyway, council have accused the SNP-led government of centralisation, to which Stockton said, one of the challenges is there's a little bit of, I don't know, he says, I could use the word ignorance, a lack of understanding from the civil service on what exactly councils are able to achieve for their communities and the nation. He said there's been a huge move away from singularly supporting councils to deliver on behalf of the community to this idea that more and more is put through the challenge and through quangos and agencies. He says you've got to join with them to deliver the thing you could have done so easily yourselves. He says more of the time is then spent on a bureaucratic approach, and all of a sudden there's so much extra administration. He said, I don't believe we get the best value for the pounds that we're spending, but spent by government. He also said council finances could be disadvantaged. He's right all along, everywhere. Everything that the government does at a national level can be done better, cheaper and more targeted at a local level. But they don't like that. Central government hates power being anywhere other than in that cabal at the top, because they're a monolithic, power-mad, centralist, unilateral power base, which is why they have all the aspects of the establishment within them. They don't want power being vested anywhere other than in that small clique of evil, perverted, criminal, ignorant, stupid people at the top. And unfortunately, that's what we have. And unfortunately still, people still vote for them. The SNP voter, your average SNP voter, doesn't understand what's going on because they are rather stupid. If they weren't stupid, they wouldn't vote for the SNP. So I do think Orkneys will do it. I think they should. And if they do, others will. And then they all will. And that'll be the end of that policy. He can stand there and say whatever he likes at Congress. People will just ignore him because he's an idiot and he has no power. And it'll probably have been his last Congress the way it's going. I think his time is numbered. His days are numbered. His time is up. And I think it won't be long now. I think it's coming to an end. Anyway, I shall stop there. I will come up and we'll finish the video. Like so many policies in the past, it's another one doomed to fail, doomed to die. This one will die by its own hand, because the very thing it was meant to do, meant to help people in this time of austerity, is making people far worse off. But he doesn't see that. Humza Yousaf can't see it because he's not very bright. He's a bear of very little brains. Anyway, I shall stop there. Thank you very much for watching. Do please hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, leave a like, leave a comment. Please share the video. Till next time, stay safe, stay well, and I will speak to you later. Bye.